I had been in love with someone for 3 years. We did everything a couple would, except for having the official title. One call from him, and I rushed to the hotel, only to be humiliated by him in front of everyone, with another woman lying in his bed. He thought I would stay by his side forever. Later, as he lay dying on a hospital bed, I stood by his bed, laughing maniacally. After 3 days of rushing, I finally finished the report. Just as I closed my eyes to rest, Marcus called. "Grace, get over here." His tone was urgent. Without a second thought, I grabbed my jacket and hurried to the location he sent me. The address was the hotel. I saw dozens of people queuing on Uber, so I rode my bike, panting as I pounded on the door. I was worried something had happened to him and didn't stop to think why he was at the hotel. The door opened quickly. A group of people stood behind the door. Marcus was lying on the bed, his upper body bare, covered by a blanket from the waist down. A woman sat beside him, her clothes barely concealing her private parts. When they saw it was me, Marcus's best friend burst into loud laughter. Marcus was right, she really came, ha ha ha. The others echoed him, their smiles like devils, each laugh pounding against my heart. I avoided everyone and walked directly to Marcus. "Give me an explanation." He offered a faint smile, just like when I first met him. "It's exactly what you see. Truth or dare. We wanted to see if you'd come immediately." The woman beside him chimed in with a sweet, syrupy voice. "I can't believe you actually came. You're really devoted to Marcus, aren't you?" After speaking, she didn't forget to lean on him, seeking praise like a delicate bird. Marcus dotingly tapped her nose. I bit my lip until it bled, finally swallowing back my tears. From the room to the hotel entrance, I stumbled and fell 3 times. Perhaps I should have realized sooner, he wasn't the Julian who had descended from the heavens back then. 2. Tear out the roots he'd planted in my heart, I needed to let go and start anew. That night, I went to City General Hospital for a full physical examination. As I sat in the City General Hospital corridor, waiting for my number, I recalled every detail of the past 3 years. Honestly, Marcus wasn't good to me. His family was wealthy, and he never had the same woman twice. I was just one of countless ordinary women around him. He never acknowledged me as his girlfriend, yet he shamelessly indulged in my affection and exerted his possessiveness over me. Relying on that tiny bit of hope for 3 years had been utterly exhausting. Now, it was time to let go. After leaving City General Hospital, I received a message from Marcus. "I've tried so many women, but you're still the one who satisfies me the most. Come find me tomorrow." Attached was a picture he had taken of me. Me, completely naked. This was his perversion. I had started believing his lies, leaving behind too many indecent photos. Later, I found tens of thousands of such photos on his phone. Not just of me, but of all sorts of other women. I had a huge argument with him, was utterly humiliated, and he used those photos to call me back again and again. I clutched my phone, my knuckles white, trembling uncontrollably. Tears dripped onto the screen, magnifying the line of text. It was over. My past was over. I would let whatever good he once had remain buried deep in my heart. I refused to be hurt by him any longer. 3. I replied to Marcus in a submissive tone. After returning to Westwood University, I spent an entire week at the university library. Every time I sat down at the university library, I turned off my phone and tossed it aside. Marcus found me at the university library, furious. "Where's your phone? Why is it off?" I looked up at him. The initial dazzling smile I remembered was fading in my mind. My broke. He picked up his phone and transferred 20,000 yuan to me. "Go buy one right now. An iPhone 15. I'm loaded. Come find me at the hotel after you buy it." After a moment's thought, he pulled out a debit and handed it to me. "The password is my birthday. Come straight back after you buy it." With that, he walked straight out the door, arm around the woman waiting nearby. I silently watched the debit lying on the table. I knew he loved to show off. I used the money on the card to buy a high-end Android and a tablet for myself with the rest. As for the money, if he was willing to give it, I was happy to spend it. That night, I didn't return to Westwood University. Instead, I stayed in her apartment, studying research. My advisor said there was an upcoming competition in our city, and the first-place winner would get a project collaborating with a leading company. I was determined to win this project. I had already emailed all the relevant data to the organizer yesterday, and all of it was marked with my name. All that was left was the final competition. My advisor said the university leadership highly valued this competition and hoped I would send them my results as soon as possible. See how grand they sounded? If they hadn't taken my achievements several times before, with my name absent from the winners list, I might actually have believed them. They righteously claimed that the prize money would be fully given, but since I was only a first-year graduate student, from a family that ran a convenience store, and without any prior patents, my name wouldn't be publicly announced. The real winners were those privileged darlings from affluent families, the senior students about to graduate. Among them, the one most favored by the university leadership was Marcus, whose mother was a board member. I tried to appeal but was repeatedly dismissed. Marcus once squeezed my face in bed, his eyes full of laughter. Grace, don't try to challenge the elite. Class divides cannot be crossed. He also gave the acceptance speech. His impeccably dressed appearance made him the dream man in many girls' eyes. Even though he never lacked women, the girls openly called him a jerk, and his reputation only grew stronger. I simply replied okay, then sent over the documents in my hand. This time, I was going to settle the old scores properly. For when the list of contestants was announced, the title of the work I submitted to my advisor was conspicuously listed under Marcus's entry, meaning my work was recognized. How ironic. They acknowledged my work but not me. The first place this time, if nothing unexpected happened, was already reserved for Marcus. That list of contestants was merely a roster of placeholders for others on their path to winning. 2 girls walked past. Marcus again? How is he so strong? He enters every competition and always wins first place. Well, his family is rich, right? Cultivating a talent definitely costs money. Ordinary people like us can only watch. They shook their heads and walked into the auditorium, probably contestants themselves. Once everyone was seated, the host announced the official start of the competition. Marcus held my PowerPoint presentation, used my speech, and presented my work, yet he looked completely at ease, as if a Julian standing atop mountains, overlooking all. I had anticipated he would use my work, but I didn't expect him to even get his hands on the data I had submitted to the organizer via email. The scales were blatantly tipped in his favor. After his presentation, the judges' expressions seemed off. The judges were external representatives from the collaborating company, with sharp, seasoned eyes. It was clear this wasn't the work they wanted. However, since the champion had already been internally decided, they couldn't openly raise questions. The competition continued, and then it was my turn. I pulled out my USB drive and presented the work I had toiled over for 2 months. When I looked up at the judge, his eyes lit up. The work's principle wasn't overly complex, but it was clever, with cheap raw materials and simple manufacturing, aligning with the company's product positioning. Most importantly, it was well suited for large-scale commercial production. As I explained, I heard hushed gasps from the audience. After the demonstration, I looked around at Marcus. His expression hadn't changed, or rather, his mind was blank. He couldn't understand the intricacies. The work he presented was purely for show, and its actual implementation would be extremely costly in terms of process and raw materials. The judges wouldn't fail to see that. As I said, I was determined to win this time. Thinking this, I met Marcus's gaze and offered a faint smile. He had no idea. When the competition ended, the judges hesitated during scoring. Several of them gathered and discussed for a long time. The final result was that Marcus and I tied for first place. But the project collaborator was me. In the face of absolute strength, any underhanded dealings were just a dying struggle. The venue erupted in thunderous applause. Marcus couldn't sit still and went to argue with the judges. The judges stuck to the original result and refused to change the scores. He then turned back to me. Are you messing with me? His finger stopped 5 centimeters from my forehead. I slapped it away fiercely. That work, it seems to be the one I submitted to Westwood University, isn't it? How did you get it? He wasn't flustered. How can you prove you submitted it to Westwood University? I still have the sending records on my phone, and my computer also has the design concepts and drafts. Oh, I used your computer for that, and I also asked you to forward it to Westwood University for me. After all, we had a good relationship before, didn't we? Marcus, like a rat that had stolen fruit, smirked cunningly. He suddenly leaned in, whispering almost imperceptibly in my ear, "Don't forget we have the kind of relationship where we take certain photos." My tightly clenched fists trembled. My eyes turned red with anger. I longed to bite off his face, to see the true repulsive monster behind his charming facade. The leadership stepped forward to take charge, but everywhere, there was favoritism towards Marcus and harshness towards me. Thompson, his competition entries are all mine. Is it appropriate for you to indulge him like this as an educator? I was taken to the office, where he gave me an hour-long lecture, appealing to my emotions. In summary, it all boiled down to one thing: Marcus had money and could fund Westwood University. After leaving the office, I understood one truth: to shake the mountain behind Marcus, I couldn't rely solely on strength. Marcus was waiting for me outside the office. When he saw me come out, he hooked his arm around my shoulder. He had a pungent perfume smell about him. He swaggered. How was it? Didn't I tell you not to mess with me? The class divide can never be crossed. I silently counted to 3 in my head, enduring the nausea as I put my arm around his waist, forcing a flattering smile. You're right, I was reckless before. So, can I have this project? I had originally earned this project through my own merit, but I had to flatter him. If I couldn't take him down in one go, I would dismantle him bit by bit. He dropped a kiss on my forehead. I'll let you have it. Behave yourself next time. I endured it, nodding obediently. 6. I treated him as I had in the beginning, doing his homework, writing his papers. But I used my internship as an excuse to refuse all requests for intimacy. After taking over the project, I naturally stayed on as an intern at the company, commuting between Westwood University and the company. I didn't feel tired at all. I asked for overtime every day, preferring to stay at the company rather than return to Westwood University. Only when I was busy did I stop thinking about Marcus. I was a sentimental person. 3 years ago, when he took me away from those people, I secretly swore I would be good to him for life. That's why I silently endured everything he did to me later. I truly couldn't understand how the person who once told me, "I will always protect you," could become the one who hurt me. My attitude towards the project was almost rigorous. I demanded perfection in every aspect. After the company tasted success, they promised me direct employment after graduation. Marcus's women continued to change, and my meetings with him became increasingly infrequent. The sentiment around Marcus at Westwood University began to shift. The cause was a tough opponent who disclosed online that Marcus had plagiarized others' work, releasing a lot of evidence. The university administration stepped in to suppress the matter. When I left the company, Marcus stood beneath the main gate. He was dressed expensively, passers-by glanced at him, and even his shadow exuded an air of nobility. "Grace, off work. Let me treat you to dinner." He tried to take my hand, but I silently dodged it. "I'll just eat at the company cafeteria. I still have to work overtime later. Let me treat you. There's something I want to tell you." He stood still, as if expectant. I agreed. If he had asked me to help him with a project or homework, I would have gladly accepted, but he proposed that we genuinely get together. "Marcus, did you ever like me, even for a moment?" His gaze dimmed, his pupils dark and bottomless, revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. "Grace, you know, choosing only you is already a compromise for me." My heart ripped open in an instant. Memories from 3 years ago were uprooted, mockingly glaring at me. The person I had once regarded as my salvation was such a scoundrel. "Isn't this good enough? I won't stop you from seeing other women, and I don't need you to be faithful to me. But that's not truly being together in the end." A hint of cunning suddenly flashed in his eyes, then quickly vanished. "Grace, think about it carefully. If you become my girlfriend, you'll have endless money, you'll be envied by many, and most importantly, you'll gain plenty of prestige." Prestige? I didn't need him to earn my prestige. My body trembled violently. I suddenly realized that even his proposal to be with me wasn't sincere. I understood what he was up to. My momentum was strong right now. What he wanted was to go public with me, to use my reputation to overshadow his dirtiness. Ultimately, netizens would just say, "They're together now, so Grace must have completed the project with him, right?" Those who initially raised doubts would become complete laughingstocks. I was still talking about feelings with him, but he only wanted to use me from start to finish. I refuse. Let's not have any more involvement. Let's just break up. I picked up my bag, intending to leave, but he pressed down on my hand. "Are you really sure?" He stared at me, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips, sending a shiver of dread down my spine. 7. I pulled my hand away from his and walked straight out the door. I slumped into my cubicle, staring at the screen, but my mind couldn't focus at all. I had planned to negotiate with him, to indulge him and let him completely wither away in his comfort zone. But he was smarter than I thought. He was a sophisticated egoist. Everything he did was only for his own benefit. That's why he could frequent all sorts of party scenes yet never contract any venereal diseases. He always made sure to use protection. That's why he could claim others' work as his own without fear of exposure. He had enough financial power to smooth over such minor issues. My plan was ruined. I stared blankly at the screen, my eyes aching, unable to write the next line. Without any ideas, I simply returned to my dorm. As usual, I spent time at the university library whenever I could. On my commute, people often gave me strange looks and whispered amongst themselves. It was odd. I was wearing the same clothes as 2 days ago. No thing was different. Normally, when I got busy, I would turn off my phone. This time, as soon as I sat down at the university library, I pulled out my phone and turned it on, while picking up a pen to start my work. A trending was pushed to the very top, University Students Private. I had been tagged countless times. My notifications had gone over 99 plus. I followed the topic and what met my eyes were my photos. I was naked in them, my eyes hazy. Snap. My pen tip broke, ink staining the entire page. I don't know how I got back to the dorm. I just felt countless eyes fixed on me the whole way. My roommates' attitudes towards me weren't particularly special, except that they suddenly all started staring at their phones, their expressions meaningful, sometimes even laughing in unison. On X, I was universally condemned. Although the photos had been deleted, many were still being sold at high prices. I quietly moved to her apartment I had rented earlier. The district next door, with its loud, vibrant music, irritated me. Why fight? What was there to fight for? No matter how long I struggled, I was still the one who got hurt, wasn't I? It was true 3 years ago, and it was still true 3 years later. Shouldn't I have given up a long time ago? It felt like the me from 3 years ago had returned. I first came to this city after graduating from college entrance exams. My father, who had toiled for half his life, stopped his work for the first time and opened a bottle of his treasured wine to celebrate with me. He told me, "You can be poor, but you must always have ambition and self-respect." This was also my first time leaving my hometown of Havenwood. I got into a top-tier university with the highest score in the entire county. It was here that I realized how treacherous big cities could be. My father's salary was low. Giving me 500 yuan a month for living expenses was already a struggle for him. We lived in a simple old building next to an auto, barely 30 square meters in total. For my tuition, my father often started saving a year in advance. Studying in a big city, class alone cost 200 yuan at one go. I paid it almost gritting my teeth. University life was colorful, but also expensive. There were parties everywhere, in classes, clubs, dorms, and money flowed like water. Even working part-time in all my free time couldn't keep up with the spending pace. So gradually, I withdrew from clubs and turned down all unnecessary social engagements. I became isolated. Sometimes, the reason for being isolated was simple. If you didn't conform, you were seen as difficult to get along with. Some people noticed my predicament. They saw my worn-out, shiny pants, my misshapen underwear, and how I tripped during physical tests because of my broken shoes. They found amusement in this, thinking I was a pushover. But they didn't expect me to fight back, to tell my advisor, to report it to Westwood University. They found it even more entertaining, making my submission their new hobby. Trapped in the restroom again, covered in dirty water stains, I pressed my lips together and said nothing. They noticed my cheap underwear showing through my soaked shirt and discovered a new thrill. I was ripped at, photographed, stomped on, and cried until my tears ran dry. I finally lowered my proud head, and they laughed even louder. Just then, the restroom window suddenly swung open. Marcus, in athletic wear, sat on the windowsill, with wild winds swirling fallen leaves behind him. "Stop it." He was like a blessing from a merciful deity, casting a ray of sunshine into my wilting life. Those people feared him. They scattered and fled when they saw him. He picked me up in his arms, and he smelled of sun-baked warmth. For the next 3 years, he became my protector. No one dared to bully me again. Back then, I didn't know what love was. He led my naive self, first with his lips, then with his body, and we did everything a couple would before we even had a confirmed relationship. I thought then that since he had saved me from distress, everything he demanded from me was only right. When I graduated, he and I went to our usual restaurant. I asked him about his plans, and he gave me an ambiguous answer. Study abroad, or inherit the family business. I couldn't help but sigh again. Money truly was great. I'm planning to pursue graduate studies, so you won't be able to protect me anymore. But his eyes suddenly hardened. I will always protect you. Young and naive, I didn't understand the preciousness of promises, and I believed him wholeheartedly. Later, he neither went abroad nor inherited the family business. Instead, he pursued a guaranteed spot in graduate school. I changed my target university, reuniting with him on campus. I don't know what changed, but he never treated me gently again. He stopped asking for my opinion and started having many girlfriends. The distance between us grew, and I became increasingly immersed in research. Until that night when he called me to the hotel, and in front of everyone, he joined those people in ridiculing and insulting me. Which step went wrong, I had no idea. I woke from my dream, it was already the middle of the night. The district across the street was still noisy, and Marcus's car was parked at the entrance. My vibrated incessantly with various taunts and vulgar messages. I simply turned it off and threw it under my pillow. My blood ran cold, and the frantic anxiety made my teeth chatter. 3 years ago, I had been condemned for similar photos, and the label slut had even followed me through my subsequent university years. I couldn't be like I was 3 years ago. I turned on my phone, and the small light instantly pierced my eyes. I tapped the edit button. 11 on X, my post on this topic was pushed to the top. These photos are not of me. Anyone who continues to spread them or libel me will face legal action as I will gather evidence. No one bought it. Those who wanted to spread them still did. They didn't care about my well-being, only about this absurd feast. I saved all the accounts that insulted me and engaged in secondary dissemination, then handed them all over to the police. Soon, apologies started coming in. But it wasn't enough. The culprit had to be punished. I went with the police and brought Marcus to the police. From his initial disbelief upon seeing the police, to his defiance when handcuffed, he was now quiet, staring at me malevolently. My reason for calling the police was defamation and damaging my reputation. Those photos are not me at all. He spread rumors and obscene photos online, and I have been severely affected. The officer lowered his head and took notes. Marcus instantly jumped up. That's you. That face is yours. You used AI face swapping. I never took these photos. Of course you didn't. I took them all. I even remember that mole on your inner thigh. The officer taking notes stopped writing, looked up at Marcus, his eyes sharp. Are you 100% certain those photos are of this woman? Yes. I took them myself. I took a deep breath, my hands, which had been trembling from nervousness, finally relaxed. He admitted it. We now need to conduct further examination of your phone. Please unlock it. 12 All the photos on Marcus's phone were forcibly deleted. Due to the severity of the offense, he was to be further detained. However, he ultimately received a lenient punishment. He was only held for a few days. The X topic was taken down. As soon as he was released, he strutted in front of me. Grace, look, I'm out again. I told you, class divides cannot be crossed. I glared at him coldly. Is that so? What if I fight to the death? He took a hesitant step back. My family doesn't have endless money, nor an inheritance to claim. I'm all alone, and I have more than enough guts. Taking one down before I die wouldn't be a wasted 20-something years. Look at this place. If one died here, how long do you think it would take to be discovered? I advanced step by step, staring at him grimly. My expression must have been terrifying. He was so frightened he ran off. I spat on the ground a few times to ward off bad luck. I wasn't going to die, I wanted to live well. I had guessed he could settle it with money. So, calling the police was just to make him drop his guard. The real storm was still to come. I picked up my phone and made a call. You saw it all, didn't you? 13 The voice on the other end was sharp. You bitch. What did you do to Marcus? Tiffany, who appeared noble and generous in front of outsiders, was in fact jealous and witless, thinking only of her dear Marcus. You saw it all. He came to me himself. I thought you were so important to him, but you're just one of countless women. You must have pulled some strings. Marcus would never still like you. Just you wait. I didn't doubt she would do something outrageous, In fact, I wished she would go even further. I needed to add fuel to the fire. But your dear Marcus published my photos, didn't he? Doesn't that indirectly tell everyone he has a relationship with me? Sure enough, she became even angrier. You're shameless. You must have posted them yourself. Marcus would never want to be associated with a woman like you. That was enough. I didn't want to talk to her anymore, so I simply hung up. Gazing at the bright moon in the sky, it was like looking at myself from 3 years ago across a vast distance. The next day was the weekly exchange meeting. Though called an exchange meeting, it was more like a routine check-in, where a few familiar fellow would chat about gossip after briefly discussing the past week's work. Connected to WhatsApp, suddenly rang with a video call from Tiffany. I muted my conference microphone and answered her call. The screen showed her in the hotel, tightly dressed in only lingerie. The camera swayed, and indescribable sounds occasionally came. Rough. Grace, look, you've lost completely. The camera moved, focusing on Marcus's face. I had only muted my microphone, not turned off screen sharing. Her every move was being streamed via live call. My students gasped silently, and the chat filled with comments. Whoa, that's crazy. My meeting recording is still on. Good thing I didn't connect to my advisor. Gotta say, Marcus isn't really that good. Not half as impressive as me. I deliberately feigned anger. You only know how to sleep your way to the top. Marcus, who had been silent, finally spoke up to defend her. You were ungrateful and didn't want me. Now I'll show you how powerful I am. The scene was obscene and unbearable. The meeting was quickly shut down. But it was enough. What I wanted was the video to spread. Some busybody uploaded the meeting recording and circulated it on a small scale. Meanwhile, I was just properly attending my meeting. 14 As I expected, the new wave of gossip quickly overshadowed the old one. The discussions about me turned into discussions about Marcus. His reputation plummeted completely, and along with it, his academic integrity was once again brought up for discussion. Unlike last time, when most people defended Marcus, this time more people kicked him while he was down. The poster's evidence was forwarded many times. The wind of public opinion finally blew my way. Below the original post, I attached a long image I had already prepared, detailing how Marcus used his family's connections to appropriate my academic achievements, how he insulted me, and how he and his friends played cruel jokes on me. Finally, I added a sentence. Last week, I was in a regular meeting when Marcus's current girlfriend suddenly started a video call, and the inappropriate visuals happened to be recorded in my meeting log. At this point, I had completely distanced myself from the entire affair. From beginning to end, I was the vulnerable party. When the vulnerable party bravely speaks out, air voice often becomes more powerful. This uproar dealt a devastating blow to Marcus. The incident alerted his mother, Mrs. Eleanor, a composed and reserved woman. She stepped out of a limousine, walking on high into the principal's office. Marcus found me as I was finishing my report, preparing to return to my dorm. He looked disheveled, he hadn't shaved, his face was oily and patchy, and he had a lot of stubble. You set me up? His first words were an accusation. He even lunged at me, trying to lay hands on me, but restrained himself because there were people around. You prepared everything so thoroughly right away, you must have planned this for a long time, didn't you? This was all part of your plan, wasn't it? Grace, you've changed a lot these past 3 years. I hugged the documents to my chest and stepped back to a safe distance. I merely stated the facts. You're getting bolder and bolder. Have you forgotten what I told you? Offending the upper class won't end well. Getting my mom involved won't do you any good. She'll only hurt you to protect the Marcus family's reputation. I quietly covered my nose, blocking out his foul breath. He reached out to me, wanting to touch my face. How did I not notice before? You're getting more beautiful. If you come back to me, I can plead with my mom. Pfft, I spat, spittle landing on his hand. Don't you have a mirror? Go take a piss and look at yourself. He roared behind me, my mom won't let you off. 15 Mrs. Eleanor didn't come after me. The company I worked for had ongoing projects with the Marcus family. My project had opened up new markets for the company, bringing a significant increase in market value. Before this incident, the manager was already discussing contract signing with me. This meant the revenue I generated was interconnected. After's father passed away, Mrs. Eleanor took full control of the family business. I had researched her. Her marriage to Marcus's father was entirely a forceful Takeo. Ver. She was focused solely on her career and didn't care much for her son. There was no way she would abandon such substantial revenue for Marcus. All of Marcus's honors were stripped, and he was ordered to remain at Westwood University under observation. His mother securing him a chance to avoid detention and expulsion was already doing more than enough. Everything had settled. My past with Marcus should have ended right there. I stayed in the lab until night, only leaving close to dorm lights out. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly heard voices from the adjacent classroom. It was Marcus and some other people. Curiosity made me peer through the door crack. When I recognized the faces of the others, the hair on my arms stood on end, and fear enveloped me in layers. Those people were the ones who had bullied me 3 years ago, and seemed to be on very good terms with them, chatting enthusiastically. Marcus, your pet isn't listening to you anymore. The speaker was the ringleader of that group, my former roommate, Chloe. She's just an ungrateful dog. It was just for fun, and I almost got myself into trouble. Wasn't 3 years of fun pretty good? Tears streamed down my face. All the defenses I had built in my heart crumbled in an instant. From beginning to end, I was just a toy for their amusement. Marcus, whom I once considered my protector, was also a complete fraud. Marcus, I wanted to give you one last chance for the sake of our past, but you yourself completely sealed off your own path to survival. 16 at Neon Bar, a frequent haunt of Chloe's, a Julian appeared. He was slender but exceptionally beautiful. Men and women alike were stunned by his looks. Chloe was no exception. With her extremely high bids, she often had Julian accompany her. I stood on the balcony, quietly watching Chloe emerge from the district, her clothes barely covering her private parts. Her makeup was heavy, her expression haggard, and Julian lightly supported her. Ahead, Marcus was getting into a car, arm-linked with a woman. Chloe silently watched his retreating back, her voice filled with despondency. What kind of woman do you think will finally make him settle down? Just like when she heard I had gotten into graduate school. Julian didn't answer, standing quietly beside her. Then he looked up and met my gaze. I nodded, understanding. The latest message on my phone was Chloe's phone number, which he had sent me. I activated my voice changer and dialed the number. Do you want to win Marcus's heart? No pleasantries, just a direct opening. She clearly froze. Who is this? Are you spying on me? She instinctively looked left and right. Don't you find it strange? Even though Grace was always Marcus's pet, she genuinely stayed with him for 3 years. Chloe's breathing hitched. Go on. First, make him feel you're useful. Grace stayed by his side for 3 years because she could do projects for Marcus. Then, get pregnant with his child. I believe you know what a child means. She was silent, but her breathing quickened. I knew she was tempted. Remember, Marcus will use protection. You'll have to figure out a way around that. I didn't doubt what a person driven by emotion would do. After hanging up the phone, I sank straight to the floor, sobbing softly. 17 My 3 years of graduate school quickly ended. I seamlessly started my job, dedicating myself to research and projects. In my 3rd year of employment, I resigned. My colleagues urged me to stay, saying the company had great promotion opportunities. I smiled and said I wasn't feeling well and was going to start my own business. During my 3 years there, I had gained a clear understanding of market trends, saved a considerable amount of startup capital, and built up a substantial network.